How's Frank doing?
Yeah, he hasn't practiced. Just trying to get him healthy, hopefully for the stretch. Just still just kind of soreness in his leg.
Any other updates on any of the injured guys?
I'm trying. The rest of them, they're out for the year.
Bryson.
Yeah, Bryson. Just nothing right now.
Okay. And then just heading into these final few games, you've got some seniors.
Yeah.
Just has it kicked into guys like Kumari and
Jacob? Those are the two seniors. And so it. I'm sure it has. We haven't talked about it. We've just been focused on Wisconsin. We haven't focused on senior night or anything like that yet.
Okay.
Yeah. But like I said, I know. As a senior, they're thinking about it. Yeah.
As you take a look at Wisconsin, probably the things that really jump out about them is that they shoot the three a lot. What types of problems do they present?
Shooting the three at all five spots. Their bigs, I think, are either fourth or fifth in the country in made threes by bigs. I think they make almost a little over three a game. Between the 4 and 5 spot. The Nolan Winter's just an elite shooter, Rapp's an elite shooter, and so, those guys shoot it better than guards, and they got quick releases, and, their offense is perfect for what they do, and obviously that's why they recruited them. But, when you have Boyd and Blackwell and, Carrington and Rhodey, those guys that can really get downhill and kind of collapse the paint. Now, when bigs are out there, you either don't have rim protection or you're going to give up an open three. And so, they put you in some really tough spot, being able to shoot at all 5 positions.
And then the last game, what things did you like about your team? What did you find out about you guys, kind of with that small lineup, sort of with Lathan? I'm not even sure if Frank would even be a good fit this game. So maybe not having them, does Lathan match up a little bit better with Wisconsin?
Probably him and Nico probably do, just because they move a little bit better on the perimeter, which we're going to need. Like I said, you have to be able to guard their bigs on the perimeter and be able to close out like a guard, and then you still have to go back in and rebound. But I thought that's what we did a really good job. Like I said, the players get all the credit at Rutgers. We challenged them to rebound a basketball. If you want to win, you have to rebound the ball. And I said, you figure out how you got to do it. They did it. And, and not just that, they went and applied. They're the ones that have to box out, and we didn't do that at Maryland. We were just letting guys run by us. It was very, very unlike us because we've been a pretty good rebounding team. But like I said, give Maryland credit. They just, they competed. We didn't really compete that day. For whatever reason, our energy wasn't there and our toughness wasn't there. It was present at Rutgers.
At this time of year, are you playing your best basketball, or?
I don't know. Hopefully the last 3 games we will. I thought we played really solid at Rutgers. I thought offensively we got good shots for the majority of the game. Even the shots that didn't go in were good shots. We didn't turn the ball over until the very end. We had some really sloppy turnovers against their press offense or against their press. And it cost us. We missed 4 free throws in a row, down there that kind of sparked that run to get them within 5. So we were still making good plays. We just didn't capitalize on it. We either had a sloppy turnover or missed free throws. But offensively, I really liked how we played that game, which in turn helped our defense. We did a good job in transition defense. Rutgers hit a ton of mid-range jump shots, which we have to give up. When you have to give up something, we didn't want to give up threes, and we didn't want them to, kill us at the rim like Maryland did. And so and that's what they do. The Francis kid, Tariq Francis, is terrific, in the mid-range. And so, and not just him, they probably made 12 or 13 mid-range shots in the game. But, credit our defense. We guarded the 3 and we guarded the paint really well.
Wesley Yates had a really good game on Tuesday. What can you say about his tenacity, his ability to overcome that injury that he's had earlier in the season?
Just a competitive kid. He really is. To break his shooting hand or break a bone in there and come back, 4 or 5 games later, and still just kind of really compete defensively, getting through screens and stuff like that shows how tough he is. There's been games I think he's playing really, really well. I think he had 6 or 7 assists last game, and I don't think he had a turnover. And so, like, I thought he was, tremendous of slowing down and making the right basketball play, not always just going to the rim to score. Like, he did a great job. He had some, 2 backside passes that led to threes, like making his teammates better, because he is that capable as an offensive player of not only getting his own but making other players better.
And then Hannes, he had a really nice bounce-back performance. He had
It was awesome, yeah.
He had 3 rebounds against Maryland, and then he had 16 against Rutgers. What was the difference there that you may have seen?
Aggressiveness. Like, he came out pissed off. Like I said, like, I probably challenged him more than anybody else, even individually, and that's the response. But it shows what he's capable of. Now it's him doing that every single night. Like, we shouldn't have to jump you to be that type of Hannes, and because he's a tremendous rebounder. And like I said, I'll give Maryland credit too, because even after watching film, they were always sending 1 or 2 guys to go hit him. Whether they're hitting him in the back, front, like anytime that shot went up, they sent 2 guys and they were going to hit him. And and he responded on Saturday.
And the end of game finishing has been a bit of a thing that you've had to kind of fight through as a team. You've had 5, I think you've had 6 leads in the second half, and then you closed out 2 of them. You did a better job against Rutgers. What went into that?
Are you saying like just having the lead at any time in the second half?
Well, the end of game, I would say at Maryland, you guys had a 58-57 lead.
Yeah.
And then they
We were up by 2 going into the last media, and we came out of the timeout and told the team what they're going to run, and we still screwed up a switch and gave up a 3 to Sanders. In fact, we might have been up 3, and that might have tied it. And then I think we scored, and then we gave up another 3 going under a ball screen. And so, like I said, credit Maryland. Like, they made shots, but we also screwed up some defensive assignments that led to that.
You mentioned Frank. Is there any chance of him coming back next year?
Yeah. He does have another year. Now it's just kind of the wear and tear, and getting him through a season. That's been the hardest thing, for Frank, is just, like I said, this is the most I think he's played, in his college career this year, and he did an unbelievable job. And he'll be able to come back, like at some point, like who knows when, might be, I don't think it's going to be tomorrow, but hopefully Wednesday, and getting him to that finish line is huge.
So is it a foregone conclusion that he'll come back? Because looking at him, knowing how his kind of mind works, I would think he would come back.
Yeah, I mean, he loves Husky basketball. He loves Husky Nation. Like, he loves University of Washington. I don't want to speak for Frank. I would,
Right.
like I said, with any kids nowadays, you never know.
And you made a loose reference to Hannes last week about, he might be here or he might be in the NBA. Is that probably the best you can do on that? You don't get any.
Yeah, like that. Who knows? Like, like I said, who knows if is he going to be a lottery pick? Is he a first round or a second? Like, nobody knows until they go through the draft process. And so, like I said, that's why I'm not answering either way. It's not my responsibility to do that. Like, that's Hannes and his group.
Sure.
They'll make that decision.
And just speaking hypothetically on that, isn't there the case that some guys do become like lottery picks and they look really good on paper and then they hop into the NBA and it doesn't work for them because they went too soon? Have you seen that happen before with guys?
Yeah, I think it happens, every year with some.
Yeah.
But I also think there's some that people think aren't ready, and they go and they're on the all-rookie team. So I think it's just – you can't compare him to any other player that's been a first-rounder that either went and was great or was a bust or any of that. It's just each individual, scenario.
Yeah. Well, I just know how hard it is to turn that down, no
Yeah.
matter who you are.
Yeah.
But I also know that if you're strategic about it, you might wait a year, even though you're chancing injury and all that jazz too. But, like, for instance, Hannes, I don't know if he's ever played a schedule like this before, because I think he's probably worn down as what's happened, recently, and now he's trying to get a second wind. And you go to the NBA, and either you're sitting or you're playing even a more rigid schedule. But I guess that's for him and his dad to figure out. The last guy, and I saw a video of him today dribbling somewhere like halfway around the world, it looked like, was Nitu. Is he still on the team?
No.
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 Okay. All right. Any detail you could offer on that?
Next question.
Okay.
He hasn't been here all year, but yeah.
So Lathan, he came back to Rutgers and he had a really nice performance on Tuesday. How did he feel after that game? You know, he filled in really nicely for Frank.
Yeah, I think it was. I think he feels pretty good. Coming out of there with a win, and he played pretty well. He had a couple fouls he probably wished he had back. We had to take him out, because he fouled out. But proud of him, because those are, like I said, post game, like they're emotional games for kids. Like for him to go back to Rutgers and play in front of a great crowd and like some of his former teammates, that's hard. It was hard for Wesley, Bryson at Indiana. Like those aren't easy games. It'd be like, if Makai Mason had to come back here and play, like it'd be emotional for him. It's hard, and so like I give those kids a lot of credit for getting through those games. And like I told them, I said, I don't care if you make a shot tonight. Like it's not about that. Like just give it your best effort, compete your butt off every minute you're on the floor, and let the chips fall where they fall. And and we won the game, and he played very well.
Going back to the topic of eligibility, is there, outside of Madi, obviously, is there a chance for anybody to get a medical red shirt, whether it be Jacob with all the time that he missed, or Jasir having surgery, anything like that?
I don't know. Maybe Jasir, because I don't think he's played in a game past the midway point of the year, and I believe he was under 10 games. So possibly Jasir. Jacob, no, because obviously he came back, and when you play past the midpoint of the year, or if you play more than 10 games, I believe that's the stipulation for the medical red shirt. Mm-hmm.
Wayne Tinkle and Oregon State parting ways this week, and it just takes everybody back to when they made a run with Wayne, win the Pac-12, and then go to the Elite Eight. With this team, what would it take to make that kind of a run? Is it in them?
Yeah, it is. Like our guards we're gonna have to shoot the ball at an elite level. We're gonna have to defend and rebound like at an elite level. Do you have to get some breaks? No question. But this time of year, like your best players have to be the best players on the court. Like we need Zoom, Hannes, West. Like we need them to be great every game. We need Kamari to make shots. Everybody's got to play their role at an elite level every game from here on out. Like February, March, it's about players. It's not about plays. I've said it before. We know what Wisconsin's going to do. They know what we're going to do. Now, who's going to have enough force to go and impose their will on the game and knock down shots and make big shots at the end of games and finish games off? That's how you continue. That's how you continue your season and win games.
Detlef Schrempf tomorrow.
But going back to Wayne, because Wayne's a good friend. Not just a couple guys on our staff, and obviously him being a Montana guy. Even though he was on the other side of the rivalry, he's always been tremendous to me. Even when I was the coach at Montana State, he would call and check on me or text after games. And like I said, that rivalry's thick. And for him to do that, like it meant a lot to me. And it shows what type of person he is. And, he spent 12 great years there. And before that, he was tremendous at University of Montana. And it's going to be really, really hard for Oregon State to replace Wayne Tinkle. And, it hurt, because it hurt. It just hurts the coaching profession, and this stuff happens. But when you see stuff happen like that to good guys, it's always hard.
Detlef Schrempf getting his number up in the rafters.
Yeah.
He was kind of a freak back in the day. You see more of those kind of guys now, but back then, at that size, with that skill level, what do you remember about Det? And I know he's a big part of this community with this time with the Sonics and this program. You talk a little bit about your interaction with Det since he's been here, and just what would you do if you had a player like Det?
Oh, yeah, you win a heck of a lot more games, but he's such a, and everybody in the community knows it, he's a better person than he was a player, and he should be in the Hall of Fame. But that's what type of person he is. He's a Hall of Fame person. He's got zero ego. He's like our slogan in Ubuntu, like my success is your success. Like he's the epitome of that. Like he's always trying to help somebody else. He always cares about his teammates. Our players right now, 30 years after maybe longer than that, 40 years after he got done playing here, like he's still involved in impacting our guys. And it just says a lot about him, his family. But it just couldn't, that's the best honor you can give any athlete is having their number retired. And, there's nobody more deserving than Detlef.
Did you guys plan to interact with him? I know you guys did earlier in
Yeah.
the season when you went down
in Palm Springs.
Yeah, Palm Springs. Are you going to do any of that this weekend with them?
Yeah, they're going to have some stuff before the game tomorrow, which will be special for him and his family, and no, our university will do it right.
With him and the team, do they know his story at all, or do you have?
Yeah, they do. Okay. They do. And we make our guys aware of all of our former players, and former teams, former coaches. Coach Romark, Coach Bender. I saw, and I know it's disheartening, but the clip, when UConn hit that shot, with a lot of the March Madness tweets coming out, and you see Coach Bender and even Coach Hopkins. I want these guys to know everything about the guys that were before them. Coaches, assistant coaches, players, managers, all that. Because that's where this program needs to get to. That's the tradition that we have to have. There's going to be a lot of former players come back tomorrow, a lot of Detlef's former teammates, which is awesome. And, we have to continue to get them back night after night, And I applaud the guys that do, that are around locally, from Appleby to Brockman to Todd McCullough, Spencer, there's so many, Isaiah, that now that he's finally, I don't know if he's finally done playing, he's still trying to hoop, but it because it means a lot to these guys, and I know this program means a lot to them.
And just to piggyback off of the question that it was asked earlier, but how far is the program from those Florida heydays? And so you bring back these guys, and they're going to relive all those memories, and then they're going to say that they're going to see the product on the court now.
Yeah.
How far is that gap?
There's still a little bit of a gap. There is. When you look at it, I've said it before, this program's only been to the NCAA tournament once in the last 14 years. That's factual. Our goal as a staff, and we have to try and get back to that 2006, the heyday when this place was packed. And yeah, is it a different time, a totally different landscape? No question it is. But people know, they felt that. When they come into Alaska Airlines Arena, heck, Ed, a lot of people, that's what they remember. That's what they're holding on to. And that's where we have to try and get back to. And yeah, it's a totally different league. And I'm not going to run from it. You still try to win the regular season championship. But every coach from USC to UCLA, Oregon, everybody said how hard it's going to be for a West Coast school to do that, and it's not complaining. Yeah, we have to take 4 or 5 trips back east. Is it hard? Yeah, it's hard. But we got into the Big Ten. And so we have to accept that, and we got to find a way to navigate that and somehow get over that hurdle. And one of us needs to get in there and win that regular season championship.
Your 2 previous stops before here, a lot of success.
Mm-hmm.
Coming here, I'm sure, has this been harder or about what you've expected, and what kind of a toll has it taken on you personally? Because I know you don't like losing.
Yeah.
And then what's it going to take next year to get to the next level?
Yeah, it's what I expected, to be honest with you, and that's just being 100% transparent. I knew it was going to be brutal the first 2-3 years. I knew I was going to be getting bashed. I knew the program I was taking over. And I've said it before. I had people telling me I was committing professional suicide taking his job. Okay? I didn't think like that. Okay? Did I know we had some deficiencies? Yeah. And did I know the league that we were going into would be brutal? Yes, I did. Did I know the landscape with NI? Yes. Okay? We have to find a way to navigate that, because there's a lot of jobs like that are succeeding. Iowa, he's done a great job. Coach McCollum, one of the best coaches in the country. Okay, now he brought a lot of his guys on an NCAA tournament team. Okay, and has maybe the best point guard in the conference, tremendous player. And so, we have to get there somehow, some way, and that's why I was hired to do that. And yeah, are we moving the needle quite as quickly as possible as I want to? No, but I know you have to start somewhere. Did I know year 1 was going to be brutal? Hell yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. And do I know some people are irrational about it? Yeah, I do. I don't worry about those people. Okay? And year 2, we have gotten better. Yeah, we're 14-14, okay, with not playing one game with the team that we were supposed to have, has that been hard? Yeah, it has. Have we had more missed games and injuries than pretty much, it might be more than anybody in the entire country? Yeah, we have. And that's factual. That's not like making excuses. That's facts. We have. And we've had to find different ways to get to be 14-14. Okay? Yeah, we played a brutal schedule. That's Big Ten. Now, when you play teams, okay, in the Big Ten and when you travel, yeah, that's different for every team, even Oregon. Like we have the same home and away that Oregon does. Playing in them at different times is a totally different deal. Like they're going to Northwestern, I think this weekend. You know, we were there 3 weeks ago. You know, they still have to go to Illinois, I believe. Like, you know, depending on when you're playing teams and who's available when you play them, that's totally different. You know, when we play teams and Hannes isn't playing, it's totally different, right? We played teams pretty much at full strength pretty much all year, and we've been banged up. And like I said, I'm damn proud of our team and their effort. I'm damn proud, you know. And am I excited about being 14-14? No. Am I excited about only having 6 wins in league? No. Okay, but I'm damn proud of the effort that we're getting from these guys, and knowing what they've been through. I'm damn proud of them.
Going back to the heyday of Husky basketball that you were talking about, what's next? How do you take that next step in year 3?
You got to keep, hopefully you keep some continuity and you keep building guys through the program. And it's a lot easier said than done in today's landscape. And then you have to continue to get guys that are about Washington, and that's the biggest fight for every coach in the country right now, because so much of this is transactional. And it's getting guys that are about University of Washington, that want to take this program to the next level, and it might be sacrificing their own stats, then that's what it takes. But you need that selfless, you need high character guys, and I feel like we have a bunch of them on our team, and and that's the first step of building it. And then you have to, we got to come out on top of some of these close games. Like the Rutgers and the Penn State games, like that kills us, because we're having a totally different conversation right now if we're 16-12, right? Okay, so you're telling me if we make a free throw or a 3 at the end of the Penn State game, if we get a stop and don't have a defensive breakdown at Maryland, and all of a sudden we're 16-12, everybody's telling us how good we are. And we're actually probably in the NCAA tournament projections if we win those 2 games right now. Okay, we didn't. Okay, that's the stuff that we have to continue to build to. How do we win these games? How do we not have these breakdowns? How do we continue to build depth? And like our injuries, a lot of them were fluke injuries, and they're real injuries. Like guys breaking their foot, having surgery. Like, it's not like they're faking this stuff. Like, it was just, it's been one of those years, and I'm not letting it get me down. Like, I know what I can do. I know what our program can do, and is it going to take a little bit of luck too? Yeah, just like everybody else, but we're going to get there.
You mentioned when you took the job that some people told you don't do it. And I've been out here a long time, and I felt like they've neglected this basketball program for whatever reason. It's a football school, they say. And I've seen a lot of coaches, dealt with a lot of coaches that have come through here, with a lot of enthusiasm and energy, thinking they can turn it around. Besides your dad being connected here, what was the big challenge to you to come into a situation? Because the travel is unreal for you 4 West Coast schools. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just besides any injury talk, the travel is just incredibly bad. But what's made you take this on like that?
That's just how I'm built. Like, I've always kind of had a chip on my shoulder and been the underdog, and that's not going to change. Like, even if we start winning championships, I'm not going to change. That's going to be the same underdog mentality I'm going to have. And and that's why I took this job. Like, it is a challenge, and as you mentioned, like the travel and all that, like that's not as hard as the teams you have to play and the environments that you have to play in. Like, every place we go, it's rocking. Rutgers, okay, they're a young team. Coach Pikel's done a hell of a job there. Okay, now that place is like sold out damn near. I think they have the 6th longest sellout streak in Division I, okay? And it's not a shot. You know, they've had a couple really good years a couple years ago. They're still packing the place. That's a home court advantage. Go to Michigan State, Iowa. Like, these places are hard to play, and you're playing really good teams with the travel. So it's more how good the teams are and how well coached they are than the travel. And that's why I'm saying we have to make that environment here. Michigan State should have felt that here. When they come here, I don't need 4,000 Michigan State fans getting loud at the end of a game. That's hard. That's hard on our players. You know, and we've had some great crowds here. We have. And when we do have those great crowds, like, those are the games we got to win to make them want to keep coming back.
Yeah. And just the last thing for me, Detlef Schrempf used to practice, and I was back there then, and then he'd head straight for the intramural building for 2 more hours to pick up ball.
Yep.
What would you do if you had a player that did that?
We do have some guys like that. You know,
Really?
we have guys that work. You know, we really do. You know, and I'll say this too, like the women's program does too. Because I come in, if I'm here at 6 a.m. into the practice facility, they got the music on and they got girls shooting in there. And it's usually multiple. And we have the same. You know, I mean, there's times I have to kick Wesley out of the gym. You know, JJ's a hard worker. Zoom, like, you know, I've had to tell Zoom to stay out of the gym because we need him to play a lot of minutes, you know, to finish this season. And we can't have him wearing down because he's a grinder.
That's still your environment. You know, Schrempf would just go play with whatever guy came off the street.
Yeah.
And it was just, you know, he'd go to a gym in Montlake that was called the criminal court, and for obvious reasons. And anyway, I just been looking at
That's
this.
why he's going to be an NBA Hall of Famer, and that's why he's getting his number retired.
True.
Because of that work.
Yeah.
Time for one more thing,
I know it's been hard with JJ, and I know I asked
Yeah.
you about guys, but just, you know, is he able to do anything? Is he around?
I just saw him for the first day yesterday, and it's been hard because I've been able to see him. We've been gone, you know, and he finally got his stitches out, and he actually came to the facility yesterday and watched practice and met with our training staff. And it's the first time he's been able to basically leave his house. You know, he still can't put any weight on his foot for, I believe, another 4 weeks. I mean, it's a complete 6 weeks non-weight bearing that he has to be on his foot. So, but it was awesome to see him. He was in good spirits. You know, he was pretty down at first. You know, being a young kid going through a surgery for the first time, and you know, like I mentioned, he's one of those kids that, like, I knew he'd struggle because he always had to be doing something, whether it was stretching, whether it was shooting, whether it was in the weight room. Like, he was always trying to better himself somehow, some way. And so I know sitting at home is killing him. But yeah, we just saw him for the first time yesterday, and yeah, it lifted my spirits up, you know, seeing his face.
He just seems like the kind of kid who's not going to be fun to be around if he's not doing something.
Yeah, no, he's always fun because he's such a great human being. But no, I'm sure he's a pain in his mom and dad's butt right now.
And just the procedure he had done.
Yeah, we're still waiting. He had the procedure. There will probably be another one that has to be done. I don't know the timeline on it, though. We haven't heard back from the doctor on the timeline of that.
Thank you.
You bet.